Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start living life to the fullest? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Then welcome, my friends, to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone, and welcome to the 21st episode in this new series covering the challenges from my book, Expansion Mastery. Today's episode will cover the third challenge in the being section, and this challenge is called Emotional Quality Harmonious Relationships. Okay. Well, let's get started with the emotional quality and what is meant by that. It's common within most, if not every, spiritual practice to contain practices that allow us to get control of our emotions. We've all heard the statement that if we don't control our emotions will control us, and that's absolutely the truth. So one of the things as we learn to get our mind under control, so we are the master of the mind instead of the slave to the mind, is getting our emotions under control. So this is part of mastering the mind as well as mastering another facet of ourself, which is that emotional facet. All we need to do is look around and observe others, and especially observe ourselves. And we can easily see how the vast majority of people react to situations in life from uncontrolled emotional states. And indeed, as the ego becomes more and more inflated, people tend to crave the drama that takes the ego on an emotional thrill ride, much like a roller coaster. With dramatic ups and downs, these emotional swings give a sense of excitement to people's lives, primarily to those who are dominated by ego. For once we overcome ego, we have no use or attraction whatsoever to drama, let alone an addiction to it. And I usually recommend to people that they look at others and observe this type of behavior so that it's easy to see. Because sometimes things are easier to see in others before we can see them in ourselves. And when we do this kind of observation on others, we're not judging them. We're simply observing so then we can understand what we are looking for within ourselves. And then we turn it inward and we focus on paying attention to our own emotions and to see just how much we are addicted to the thrills of the ups and downs of emotions. That gives us a better indication of where our focus needs to lie within the practices that allow us to then overcome our emotions so that they serve us and we can enjoy them. We're not trying to stifle them. We're trying to prevent them from dominating our state of being. You see, when we move past the ego and the mind, and we connect with our consciousness, our sense of awareness, there's no longer a need for drama. Drama belongs to the mind. And indeed, just the nature of mind itself is to be in turmoil. It is when we go beyond the mind, like in no mind, that we move beyond this. And it's generally at that point that we recognize that a great percentage of what we deem to be emotions are emotional reactions to our own thoughts, not stemmed from what we are feeling, an honest feeling, but stemming from how we are reacting to a certain stimuli, such as a thought or some other sensory input. And in regards to thought and emotion, it could happen either way. In some cases, we have thoughts that then trigger an emotional reaction. In other times, we have an emotion arise that then triggers thought. But as you engage the practices to get your emotions under control, you will tend to find that the majority of your emotions, what we term as emotions, are actually a reaction to the thoughts running rampant in your mind. So the first thing is to pay attention to our emotional state. We want to make sure that we are staying far more positive, upbeat. We want to keep a higher vibration, and emotions allow you to directly monitor your vibrational frequency. So if you are feeling ashamed, your vibrational frequency is extremely low. If you feel fearful, your vibrational frequency is very, very low. On the other hand, if you're feeling appreciation and love and things like that, then your vibration is about as high as it can go. And of course, there's an entire array of emotions in between there, aren't there? So we want to get a baseline, and we want to stabilize our emotions. So we have one point where we are just where we're at most times. So how do we do this? Well, to begin, we don't try to control our emotions. We don't try to change them. What we're going to do is observe them. We observe them in others, and then we observe our emotions, and we watch them as they rise, come into being, and then fall away. And you'll realize, oh, my emotions do the same thing my thoughts do. Oh, there's a thought. Yep, here it comes. There it is. Okay, I've listened to it play itself out, and now it's gone, and oh, there's another one. And your emotions do the same thing, which shows the interconnected nature of thought and emotion. In the beginning, just observe. Avoid judgment and criticism and trying to change these emotional states. Just allow them to be what they are. But pay attention to how they arise. Where do they come from? Why are they there? And then watch as they fade away into nothingness, and you realize they're not quite as important as we often believe them to be. It is after that that we engage in practices that allow us then to stabilize our emotional state. Mindfulness is one of the greatest ways to attain this. Indeed, in the authentic teachings of mindfulness, this is one of the areas of focus. The only way to get your emotions under control is to first become very mindful of them and be capable of catching them as soon as they start to rise. One of the things we can see in society today is just how the ego has been inflated to unsustainable levels through the emotional state of the masses. People don't care about factual information anymore. They don't care about fact and reality. They care about how they feel about a certain thing. Whether it's real or not, they want to believe it is real for them. In reality, this is just an extreme sort of delusion. We see how more and more people are becoming fearful to interact with other people because they may have some sort of meltdown or psychotic break based on their emotions. They have no control of their emotions. You see that the emotions are actually dominating them. And this is normal. This is going to happen when you have the ego being inflated to unsustainable levels. As the ego grows, the emotions become more and more dominant and more unstable themselves. And one example of this is I saw a headline just yesterday of a woman who brutally stabbed herself because she was tired of Donald Trump being president. I don't care about politics at all. But this sort of behavior is exactly what I've been talking about for years now. When we have our ego inflate to an unsustainable level, our emotions get absolutely out of control. It doesn't take a whole lot to see the emotional instability in this instance, does it? And you can see that it's proof positive of what I've been stressing for years. And this type of extreme behavior is not that uncommon these days. And we can see beyond any shadow of a doubt that this sort of thing is on the rise. And this is exactly why I have been stressing the practices that I've been sharing with all of you for many, many, many years now. I've been stressing how important it is to have some mental practices in place, to have a spiritual system and to work on these things, because this helps keep us balanced and sane at a time when many aspects of the world around us are going absolutely insane. Now, I feel it's also important to stress here that as we get our emotions under control, that doesn't mean we don't feel. That doesn't mean that we never get upset. That doesn't mean that we're incapable of feeling happiness or joy or love or any of that. That's not how it works at all. Indeed, I would go so far as to say that you can feel more. And I don't know how to actually convey this through words, but it's like you have a nice calm base state and you're aware of emotions as they rise and fall, but you don't just mindlessly react to them. And they're not very powerful unless you choose to allow them to be. If I feel appreciation for someone, I really feel appreciation. If I feel love, I really feel love. Negative emotions don't seem to carry the same strength as they used to. Sure, they still rise and fall, but they aren't as powerful as they once were. Why? Because they're not triggering the ego. So I don't have the situation playing again and again and again in the background of my mind. And this frees you up so that when you feel your heart full of love, oh my goodness, it is overflowing and powerful. And how incredible is that to minimize any of the negative and allow the positive to become such an incredible experience. It doesn't mean we live in that space, but when those situations arise, we engage them. We enjoy them. And that's the ideal. Why? Because that has our vibration at a much higher frequency much more of the time, doesn't it? And this is part of the goal of spirituality. So once we get our thoughts and emotions under control, we start to get ourselves under control. That's the important first step. It's only then that we are ready to engage in a relationship with someone else. And then we can see that this can bring harmonious relationships. And in a forthcoming book my wife and I are collaborating on, we put that one of the most important things is to make sure that the person you're with has the same spiritual foundation that you do. You don't have to be at the same place exactly, but you do have to be engaging in the same practices, and you should both have had some engagement with spiritual practices. Why? Because as long as you have not done anything to get your thoughts and emotions under control, they are still controlling you. You're going to have a bunch of drama in your relationship, and the drama is unnecessary. This is one of the things I told my youngest daughter when I made a toast at her wedding. I said, people go into relationships, go into their marriage, under the assumption that they must compromise and sacrifice. And I'm here to tell both of you that that is not true. that is not the way it has to be, it can be better. And what I meant by that was, if you are engaging in these practices together and you've already got some sort of spiritual foundation under both of you, then there's no need for all the drama. And then you find there's no need for the compromise and sacrifice. Why? Because then you are smart enough, fortunate enough to find someone you're more compatible with. And if you're as fortunate as I am, then you might find that one and only true person in all the world that is your absolute soulmate. Yes, I am that fortunate of a person, because my wife has a spiritual foundation that is similar to mine. Indeed, we've practiced that together for many years as well. We continue to grow together. See, if you have a spiritual foundation, you're both engaged in it, and it's actually something that is bettering you. And this is where spiritual practices differ from religion, because I've known hundreds and hundreds of people throughout my lifetime, and they go to church or whatever as a family, and yet outside of church, they still have all kinds of drama and compromise and all kinds of things going on. So what does that say? Well, there's no practices contained within most organized religions that give you a practice in which to engage yourself and to affect a sense of change within yourself, a transformation of self. You have to attain this. And if you have that, and then you go into a relationship, you're set up for success. I can tell you, my wife and I have been together well over 11 years now, and neither of us compromise or sacrifice anything. Can you imagine that? We don't even argue, let alone fight and slam a door or storm off or throw things or do any of that other stuff that is fairly common in relationships. We just don't do it, and we're not trying not to. There's just no need for it. Neither of us have any use for drama whatsoever, and indeed, we live our life in a way that allows us to be as drama-free as possible. There are always outside influences, but we choose how we react to those influences, and that allows us to be free of the drama. And without all that negativity, we're able to enjoy our love for one another. We've got much more time to do that because we don't have all the drama and negativity going on. That opens up a whole lot more time to just appreciate and love one another. How incredible is that? Isn't that the actual type of relationship that everyone seeks? I know it was what I was seeking, and my wife has clearly stated that she was seeking the same thing. And we've even had family members who are still very much addicted to drama accuse us of not being happy and just bottling everything up inside. And while I understand why they might assume that, they are 100% wrong, because neither of us have that. We have no pent-up emotions or anything. Our emotions are just under control. So the negativity isn't there. So there's nothing being bottled up. There's no unhappiness. It's just a fantastic life. And whenever anyone comes out to visit, they see it. They always comment on that. And I have to always state to them that this is just how we are. We're not trying to put on airs for you. We're not doing anything different. What you see is the way we are every night, whether anyone's here or not. Is simply how we are and how our relationship is. Most relationships where people are still not in control of their emotions, you have both parties addicted to drama. So you have both parties. Both people are trying to create drama so they have that. And then you may have one person with a spiritual foundation and the other person still addicted to drama. I know this from personal experience with a relationship. And that is even worse. That's even worse because you are just in two totally different spaces. And one doesn't like drama, doesn't want it, and the other one is craving it. So that alone is going to put you at odds on an even deeper type of level. And you just can't reconcile that. You are, without a doubt, uncompatible. And this is why we stress in a relationship to make sure that you find someone with a similar spiritual foundation as yourself. See, then you can have an amazing experience without all of the manipulation and control and all of the little tricks and traps and other things going on, all these little drama things that are just childish and ridiculous and unnecessary. Instead, you can spend all of your time really appreciating and enjoying and loving one another. You can enjoy your life. See how this coincides with living a fully engaged life? Absolutely it does. When we get control of our emotions, especially those thought-based emotions, it's easier to open up and it's easier to connect with the actual real emotions, that vibration of love and joy and appreciation that comes through. Those are kind of like our base state vibrations. And because our vibrational frequency, when we are not in physical and mental form, is that is equivalent to love, appreciation, and bliss. Can you imagine that being a base state, just being who you are, your being? And because these are the emotions that actually come through the heart center, these are why they are associated with the shape of the heart, because they're coming from our true self as a doorway to our consciousness, right? So this is why I have this challenge in the section for being, because emotions are part of the human experience, a part of our ability to experience humanity. And when they get out of balance, they get out of control, it makes for a very negative experience in life. But when we can get control of them and make them even more positive, then we have a better experience in life, don't we? Now, I gave the example of a romantic relationship because that's a primary relationship in my life. But we all have many relationships with family, with friends, with coworkers. We have many relationships. So I would ask you to begin paying attention to some of those relationships and the emotional charge within that relationship. And we're not trying to change anyone because we can't. We can encourage them to change. We can assist them along their path of change, but we cannot make anyone change. We cannot force anyone to change. We cannot make them change. You really can't even motivate and inspire them to change. It has to come from within. They have to want to do that before they'll ever engage it. And this is why I ask you, are you ready and willing to transform yourself in your life? Because you have to be willing. And a lot of people believe they're ready, but they are not in any way, shape, or form willing to allow this sort of transformation to take place because they're still too addicted to their emotions. So make sure that you pay attention to your side of the relationship and the emotional state that you're in. So if you're with somebody and they always bring you down, they make you feel bad, maybe they're somewhat toxic, then you cut them loose. So many people stay in that sort of relationship, whether it's a romantic one, a family one, a friend one, doesn't matter. They'll stay in that and they're going to try and make this person change. They're going to try and win them over. They're going to try. You can't do it. People fail 100% of the time with this sort of thing. Okay? The only thing you can do is to remove yourself from the situation. Now, There are other people that are more willing to engage things that are just decent people. They don't know all of this stuff. So those people you can work with. There's something you can do between the two of you this way. And then, of course, if you have somebody that has also got their emotions under control through engaging specific practices, well, chances are you guys are going to get along just fine. The easiest way to begin this practice is by paying attention to your own emotional state. And through that, you can start to monitor your vibrational frequency. So you'll know if your vibration is high or low or somewhere in between. And I usually encourage someone to take a day and have a little notepad with them and try to pay attention. And this can be very difficult because it requires a lot of mindfulness. But try to pay attention to your emotions as they change throughout the day. Now, there's going to be a lot that you're not even consciously aware of, but at least in the beginning, you can be aware of those that are most prominent and write them down and get an idea for how many different emotions you go through in a day. When I did this, I was rather alarmed. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" I had no idea, and it was extensive. And I got to map that out, made it into a graph, and it was like, "Well, there's the emotional roller coaster, exactly as spiritual systems say. This has to change. This is no good." And then I started engaging the practices. So that's a wonderful way to begin to do that. And today, it's necessary. This goes into protecting our humanity, to protecting our mental health and well-being. These practices allow us to protect that at a time when it's being threatened. Look around, you'll see what I'm talking about. And then pay attention to the quality of your emotions. Just like your vibration has a frequency, your emotions have a quality. So pay attention to how emotionally charged everything is, and make sure that you have the ability to step back instead of reacting to them all the time. You become capable of responding instead. And as I've taught in previous episodes, I did an entire episode on this alone, as well as many on the emotions, so you can check those out for more details. But to put it in a nutshell, reaction is a mindless act. Responding is a mindful act. And on that note, I'd like to remind you that the holidays are right around the corner. You need to go to www.expansionmastery.com and get yourself, or the people that you love in your life, an autographed copy. I will even inscribe it to them if you supply me with their name. I'll write any kind of note that you would enjoy to have in there. And get yourself an autographed copy of Expansion Mastery. Also, get ready for the Breath Mastery program, because the first module of that is going to be launched very soon. We're working out some more of the logistics, but it's going to be launched very soon, so make sure that you're ready for that. But now is the time, so get those autographed copies and give them out as gifts, and make sure that you are helping other people to engage in authentic spiritual practices. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone. I appreciate you subscribing to the YouTube channel and for hitting the thumbs up for the videos and audio and everything on there. That's so appreciated. I can't even tell you how happy that makes me. Thank you for that support. I appreciate all of your efforts. Make sure that you are sharing these podcasts, get them out there to people, and see if we can't help people to want to make these positive changes in themselves and their lives. Till next time, my friends, I wish you the very best in your practices and your life. Take care.